Welcome to the Contrarians, where we are right and you are wrong. I'm Julio.
And I'm Alex. Here on the show, we rage against the Rotten Tomatoes machine. For the first half of each episode, Contrarians Corner, we trash the fresh red tomatoes and praise the rotten green splotches, making our case any way we can.
The aptly titled Real Talk serves as the second half of each episode. This is where we discuss our true feelings on the movie we're covering. For more information on our podcast and to browse past episodes, you can head over to our website, wearethecontrarians.com.
From there, you can also access our Patreon and merchandise, because capitalism.
If you enjoy our attempts at comedic film discussions, we encourage you to subscribe and leave us a review on whatever podcatcher you use.
If you'd like to reach out to us directly, that's what social media is for. You can find us on most platforms as @ContrarianPrime.
You can also see what we look like if you go to youtube.com/@ContrarianPrime, and you can contact us by email at wearethecontrarians@gmail.com.
I think that covers it.
Then it's time for the podcast. And we are recording for Contrarians Corner for the Babadook.
Hello, and welcome to the Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong. My name is Alex, joined as always by my co-host. And I don't know, there's a pairing in this, but I wouldn't call you my small son. So
or your mother.
Yeah.
I can be the Baba to your Dook.
There you go. We can be the sisters.
Oh, yeah.
Neither of us have had kids, so we'll have to find something else to fight about. Marvel movies or some shit.
What can we be passive aggressive about? And then eventually explode. This movie, Alex, it wears its pro-choice message on its sleeve.
I didn't even think of that, but coming out of the gates heavy with that one, Julio.
I think it's pretty clear. The movie comes out of the gate. I mean, I know we're not even getting to the recap yet, but I think that the movie makes a pretty strong case during its first act or so that, man, maybe you shouldn't have kids. So
this woman would have saved her a whole lot of trouble in life, you know? But,
yeah. Maybe the Babadook had a point.
I realize, Julio, I haven't been citing the numbers of these episodes for quite some time, but this is episode number 235, brought to us via patron demand. We'll get to it in just a moment. I didn't realize this movie was over 10 years old. I kind of remember the stir it made when it came out. And, you know, spoiler alert, it's very high up on the Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter with nearly 250 reviews. It stands at 98% with a certified fresh icon, a stamp of approval to go along with it. 72% audience score. Julio, why are we talking about this movie today?
The Babadook comes to us courtesy of patron and all-around champion of Aussie cinema, Chas Fisher. Chas has been consistently, for a while now, been sending us Australian movies. I mean, he's Australian, in case you're not familiar with our lore. And he's just been giving us a steady diet of Australian films. Sometimes that works to our advantage. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's on the Patreon channel. Sometimes it's right here on the main feed. I mean, we've known Chas for a while. He's been a patron, I think, since we started. So you can go back in Contrarians history and see how Chas has been using our podcast, and God bless him, because, you know, why not, to promote Aussie cinema. Sometimes it backfires. Up for discussion if it'll backfire this time. I'll tell you this, Alex, he didn't have time to record a clip with his thoughts about Babadook, but he said that he absolutely loves it. So that's what we're getting into. We are risking breaking Chas's heart if we get too mean about this, or even worse, if we get too real in real talk.
I mean, he's a long timer with us, so I think he knows what comes to the territory. He'll be up to the task.
He's a big boy. He can handle it. He was here with us for the Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 episodes. So if he can dish it out to Tarantino, he can take some as well.
Also, our Terminator franchise epic, in which you said some really stupid things. So he's been there for the worst of it.
And our American Hustle episode, where he said some really stupid things.
This is true. Well, let's get down to it. As I mentioned, 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. Julio, which reviews did you pull for us?
So many red tomatoes, Alex. It was easy to find the fresh quotes. When it came time to find the rotten quotes for the Real Talk segment, that's when I had to work a little harder. But we're going to start with Abby Bernstein from Assignment X, who says, The Babadook will stick with you. It is brilliantly done, imaginative horror that grips us where most of us live.
Our home?
Do you think when Abby says where most of us live, is that parenthood?
I guess just life.
Just life. We live in life. Well, I think this movie is specifically aimed at getting some sort of reaction from parents. If you're not a parent, and you are not, I am not, we just kind of watch it and shake our heads and like, yeah, that's why we don't have kids.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a father, a mother, I guess you live with your own Babadooks every day. So this might hit a little harder. Next, Mike McCahill from Movie Mail says, tell yourself it's only a story by all means, but you're still going to have to kiss the kids goodnight and then switch off the reading light. Do you think Mike McCahill thinks that the Babadook is real?
I don't know if he paid enough attention to the movie to really process it, because he clearly was working on that review in his head the entire time.
Somehow I need to shoehorn something about kissing the kids goodnight.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all that matters. And then we're going to close with Tom Meek from Cambridge Day, who says, Jennifer Kent is maestro of moody ambience and emotional turmoil. This is Jennifer Kent's first movie, Alex. How many movies do you think you should have under your belt before anybody calls you a maestro?
A maestro. She had a short film that this is based on. But yeah, that's high praise. That's coming, talk about coming out of the gate swinging.
Have you seen that Bugs Bunny short where he's an opera conductor? And he walks in, and everybody's like, Maestro, Maestro.
Is that Leopold?
Yes.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're referring to.
That's Jennifer Kent at the Babadook premiere.
Tremendous.
A rumbling sound, then 3 sharp knocks. Babadook, dook, dook. That's when you'll know he's around. You'll see him if you look.
All right. Amelia Vanek is a troubled, exhausted widow and single mother of 6-year-old Samuel living in Adelaide. Her husband, Oscar, was killed in a car accident while driving her to the hospital during labor. Sam begins displaying erratic behavior, causing problems at school and in their social life, and becomes preoccupied with an imaginary monster, which he has built weapons to fight. One night, he asks his mother to read a pop-up book, Mr. Babadook. It describes the monster of the title, the top hat wearing Babadook, which torments its victims. Amelia is disturbed by the book and its mysterious appearance, while Sam is convinced that the Babadook is real. And a couple things to get through there, but the biggest thing in the first act of this movie, she causes this by reading this book to this boy. This is, the whole, where did this book come from? What could it be? That's how you summon the demon, woman.
I don't know. I just found this Necronomicon on the shelf.
Yes.
You said I could choose.
Haven't you ever seen a movie? Do they not have moving pictures over in Adelaide?
Maybe not. But also, I already did the disclaimer that we're not parents, but there are some things that even us non-parents, I think, are allowed to call out as bad parenting. You don't just grab some random book you're not familiar with and start reading it to the kid right away. Yes. There has to be a screening process. Like, it's the same thing. You just don't put a movie on for the kid to watch if you don't know what's going on there, Mm-hmm. So when she starts reading the book and slowly gets horrified, and she just keeps going. It takes her forever to stop. It was like, you could have avoided all this if you flipped through the Babadook first to see if there were any murderous scenes there at the beginning. By the way, this lady, Australian Kirsten Dunst.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
right?
Whenever they make the American remake of this, that's who they got to get.
Distractingly Dunstian, I think. Her name is Essie Davis, but I was just like, that's Kirsten Dunst putting on a hell of an Australian accent.
During the opening where we're seeing like the troubled nature of Samuel, they straight up ape the bit from Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which we've discussed on here before, in which Miko Hughes is just not being watched at the park and climbs to the tippy top.
Yes.
Like, look at me. And that happens here. Also,
Breaking Bad. Are you going to say that they ape Breaking Bad? Because that's on my notes.
Oh, what happens there?
When Jesse does heroin for the first time, and they have the shot from above the bed, and then you just see him float and then come down. And I was like, yeah, Vince Gilligan did that years ago.
They also utilize the very underappreciated masturbation scene that climaxes in a jump scare.
Can you think of other examples?
No.
The Babadook needed more of that and less of Australian Miko Hughes. I think that's okay. I'm gonna call out something else. If you live with a child that is already, the child is needy, wouldn't you lock the door before you start having fun?
I would think. Again, we're not parents, so I mean, I don't have kids, but I still, lock the door when it's time to get down to business. So
you don't want Nori to walk in on you.
Well, fortunately, she can't operate the door handle. But yeah, if I had kids running around and shit, and especially one that is prone to coming and jumping in my bed, I'd lock the door. Maybe they do things differently in Australia.
So this opening, Alex, it's very, very try hard. The first thing we see is the Breaking Bad shot where she's like at the front and then the thing moves and, eventually she falls into bed because she was dreaming of the accident that killed her husband and all that stuff. Were you done with the movie just from the very beginning, or did it take the appearance of a child for you to go like I did, like, God damn it, a child?
I'm pretty sure I knew the kid was like the focus of the movie, so that didn't bother me. Where my interest started to trail because I became distracted was the nice guy character they introduced from the her job.
Yeah, Robbie?
Yeah, he's like nice to her and, trying to be a friend and potentially more. And he just like disappears. I was like, where's the nice guy? He brought her flowers. Is he coming back?
What happened to Robbie? Honestly, you can't blame him for not coming back because the last time we see him, he's right in the middle of a very awkward argument between Australian Kirsten Dunst and Australian Miko Hughes. It's awful. I feel bad for that guy. Secondhand embarrassment. So this lady, it's a pretty miserable life, and I get it, right? She's a widow, single parent, works with I guess a nursing home, right? Mm-hmm. But she's like working the dementia aisle.
Ward. It's not a grocery store.
The dementia wing.
Yes.
Right?
There you go.
Brad Pitt and Bruce Willis are kind of like roaming around in the background.
Yes.
It was a little too much. I was like, can we maybe lighten up a little bit on the mystery? Like have one thing in her life be good? Because the kid is a pain in the ass. Her friends judge her 24/7. She obviously doesn't like her job and she can't really make it work with the cute guy that's showing interest. So can anything go okay for this lady? Like it was, I feel like we need a little bit of contrast, right? It wouldn't have been if she had at least a cool job or if she had like a nice partner. But everything, like every single scene is like, doesn't this woman's life suck? Mm-hmm. That was just punishing.
It becomes comical at one point of like how her life can't get much more bleak.
And that's before even the Babadook starts doing anything.
Exactly. They spend close to the first half hour of the movie just establishing how sad her life is. And then it's going to get worse because this demon's going to haunt them.
Now, don't lie to me, Alex. If you're late at night at Walmart and you run across a copy of the Babadook, do you get it just for fun?
The pop-up book? Yes. Yeah. Yes, that would be interesting. If I tear it apart, though, and it starts like it reappears put back together, then I've got some real problems, apparently. And that's not the only problem here that pops up for Amelia. Pun intended. Strange events occur, such as Amelia finding glass shards in her food. She attributes the events to Sam, but he blames the Babadook. Amelia rips up the book and disposes of it. At her birthday party, Sam's cousin bullies him, and he pushes her out of a treehouse, inadvertently breaking her nose. I don't know about inadvertent. He was attempting to cause harm here. Later has a vision of the Babadook and suffers a seizure. So this kid's just a total fucking menace, man. This movie also, let's go ahead and get to it right here. This is all just like white people shit, man. Like from a storytelling perspective, but also the execution of this. I mean, even so much so that our main character, Amelia, has to call it out at the birthday party when she's listening to the local housewives gab about. And that's why as an adult, I become way more like aware of my audience and stuff. Like I feel like, I don't have kids or a wife or anything like that. But even I still feel sometimes just like I never have time to do anything. But I would never, like in front of a single parent, be like, ugh, I didn't have time to do this last week or whatnot. So I'm glad she at least got that moment to be like, you're an idiot, and call out. Because what does she say? The girl's like, it feels like I have the kids 24/7. Yeah, I barely have time to go to the gym. And she says, that is a travesty.
That's a real tragedy. Not having time to go to the gym anymore. How do you cope?
Have you seen my son?
Exactly. It's a short-lived victory because her son then Hell in a Cells his cousin out of the treehouse.
He didn't jump from the ropes, though, right? He just pushed her.
No, Undertaker Mankind style from King of the Ring 98. He just, grabbed her by the trunks and the back of the hair and just hoofed her out. But instead, she took a face plant on this. She didn't go through the Spanish announce table.
I know the movie is trying to paint the sister, right, the aunt, as inflexible. Maybe like she could have a little bit more empathy. But I was totally on her side. Like every time there was a clash between this mom and her sister, it was just clear that the sister wasn't the right. Like that kid needs professional help, and that's probably one of the biggest failures of the movie is that it never gives us a real reason why Amelia, wouldn't seek professional help for the kid right away. Like it takes forever for her to, like it takes an actual seizure for her to finally relent and take him to the doctor. And then it's just so she can score some drugs. But before then, I mean, obviously this kid's been in trouble for a while. So I wish that we had gotten there sooner, because then I would have a little bit more sympathy for her. I'd be like, okay, she's trying. But obviously from her in the first half hour or so, it's just, oh, she's tired. Okay. What else?
Also, they call out, I don't go to your house anymore because it's too depressing. She's like, how dare you? But then her house is like all muted tones. And the kitchen's like this off-white color that's just been almost turned to rust color over the years of not being cleaned and whatnot. It is a depressing house to be in. And then you factor in all like the emotional strife that comes along with it. The house represents her mental state, and it's a depressed one. Yeah. I'm getting into this, possible idea and theory, Julio, that this movie may be metaphorical in some sense.
Well, I mean, not to jump too far ahead, but one of my notes is "I get it" in all caps. So, yes, I think you're onto something.
I said "we get it" at one point.
I took it personally. I said "I get it."
Is her jaw pain starting yet here? The very subtle, all caps subtle jaw pain that she has throughout this movie.
I don't remember when's the first instance that we see it, but I remember the glass, which also made me think, okay, if you're at the point where you suspect your child might be putting broken glass in your soup, then again, you need to call for help. It's clearly gone beyond big what problems. You can do. There's a quirk, because of course this has to be, it can't just be a troubled child, it has to be a quirky child. So he likes magic. And also he likes building contraptions. Were you dreading the moment in which either magic or one of his contraptions would save the day?
We'll get to the contraptions. This kid isn't David Blaine as far as magic goes. So I wasn't particularly worried about that. What I was immediately worried / distracted / I guess just rolling my eyes in an aggressive manner was when she gets the book back. The book's been re-illustrated to show what the future is going to hold, and part of it is her killing their dog Bugsy.
Oh, dude!
And I was like, I wonder what's going to happen now. And jumping ahead, she does kill the dog, and yes. I guess because the audience isn't smart enough to pick up on the fact that what the book is saying is that you're going to become possessed, you're going to kill your dog, you're going to kill your kid, and then you're going to kill yourself. So they had to make sure they showed one of them just to show that, oh, it's the book coming to life.
Hey, that's the chainsaw from 30 minutes ago. Let's get the dog out of the way because
I can hear just someone turning. Oh, that was her in the book.
Dogs are unsung heroes of lazy horror movies. It's not like I came to that realization today, but I felt it strongly because of how this movie just revels on that specific plot point. We just recently talked about it when we're talking about the Last Voyage of the Demeter, which at least it's a good movie. So it has that going for it already. And then it has the decency to kill the dog off camera. So they just find the body. And even then, we criticize the fact that it was probably unnecessary. It's just a cheap shortcut to get a reaction, like to just give us a shock. This movie, it just goes for it.
It forecasts that it's going to happen and then does nothing to not have it happen.
And then when it happens, it does it in a very graphic way. So it's not even that, because you could have gotten away with the dog just, okay, they find it. I mean, that would be at least, give your audience some credit. They find the dog's already dead. They find the body. And then at least let us put those pieces together, right? It's like, the dog's dead. We saw a character killing the dog in the book. It's probably her. And, that you can still have the people in the audience turning to each other. Like, you think it was her? But no, they had to because they want the cheap manipulation of like, look, I'm gonna push this button really hard. Who doesn't like dogs? Who wouldn't be horrified if you kill a dog? That now we know for sure that this means business. Because obviously, by that point in the movie, we don't care if the kid gets hurt. So you need to go for an actual innocent, like the poor puppy. But anyway, the pup makes it to like the third act at least.
Cute dog, good dog actor. So, Bugsy, you were too good for this world.
Yes. I have one more thing to say about Bugsy, but we'll do it at closing.
It's at this point in the movie after the book returns, and I remembered how much hype and praise this movie garnered. My note just says, have people not seen movies? I was thinking I'll have to look it up in the break between Contrarians Corner and Real Talk. There was maybe a movie or maybe two that I watched back in October that I was reminded of as this being just basically, paint by numbers. And I mean, I think it's going to come up at some point. There is like the Hereditary vibe of like,
yes, I was trying so hard not to bring it up yet.
I get what this is trying to say. Doesn't mean it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but moving along here.
Did you one of the movies that you're thinking of as being referenced by this? Was it the porno version, the Babadook?
Babadong is right there, man.
Well, yeah, you could go with both. Two different
the
studios.
Bam Bam Dong. Yeah.
It's
Babadook is good too.
It's Armageddon and Deep Impact. The Babadong and the Babadook.
The guy, when the money shot happens, the guy goes Babadook.
Still wearing the hat though.
Oh, absolutely. With the wingspan behind him.
Yeah.
Anyway, the difference in that movie is the masturbation scene finishes to conclusion.
Yes.
Claire. Hello?
Amelia finds the Mr. Babadook book reassembled on her front door. New words in it taunt her. The book now contains pop-ups of her killing her dog, Sam, then herself. Terrified, she burns the book, runs to the police station after a disturbing phone call. However, without any proof, they're not going to do anything. And she leaves after she sees what looks like the Babadook suit hanging up behind the front desk. I guess is one of the cops just...
when he needs to go undercover.
I was going to make some joke about Australian fashion, but for the most part, they're kind of ahead of us over here in the States. So,
yeah.
But yeah, you're right. When the guy has to
tail someone,
pose on the streets, it's just one of the regulars. He wears his Babadook coat and fucking top hat.
Is this cop the cop at the front desk? Is he the best actor in the movie? I love his attempt at professionalism, but then slowly giving way to disbelief and then realizing that, no, this lady might not be all there, right?
Yes, because again, it's the part in the movie where her appearance is starting to deteriorate and she's not aware of like the words she's saying and how they come across. If you've watched a movie before in your life, you've seen this happen before, so people aren't taking her seriously. It's almost like in the next scene, the fucking child services is going to show up at her door. You're like, it doesn't look like you're raising your kids in a responsible manner.
I got to give it to Australia. They moved fast because that kid's been out of school for only 2 days. And they're already, it's like they have nothing else to do.
CPS here moves at the speed of molasses. And, over there, they're like, well, old Sam hasn't been in school for 2 days now. Time he either gets back to the book, so we ship him off to the Yabba.
What's more awkward, Alex? This child services visit or the one in Marriage Story?
I'll let you know the next time I watch this because I'm far more likely to rewatch this film than I ever am a Marriage Story.
We needed a final shot of Australian Kirsten Dunst singing at a bar. What's that song? Feeling Alive?
You know what is one of the more, it's not talked about how upsetting of a CPS visit scene it is in a film is the Santa Claus, where Charlie comes out and tells Tim Allen, "It's all right, Dad. I told her everything." And then that look on his face, he's like, "I'm never going to see my son again."
And the Oscar goes to Tim Allen.
No shit. Tim Allen, the Santa Claus. That night, the Babadook attacks her. After the attack, Amelia becomes more isolated and impatient, shouting at Samuel and having more visions of the Babadook. She exhibits violent behavior, including cutting the phone line with a knife, and has disturbing hallucinations in which she sees herself murdering Sam. It's almost like she's possessed.
Boring. This is the big turn into like, I don't give a fuck. This is where I was planning to deploy my Hereditary comparison, Alex, because it was that same sinking feeling of, oh, the filmmaker doesn't care about the things that I thought were mildly interesting in the movie, and they just want to do something else. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, it's not my jam, but I can appreciate that we're watching some sort of portrait of single parenthood and just being overwhelmed by having a troubled child and the grief of having lost your partner and so on. I was like, look, I'm not really enjoying it, not having a good time, but I can at least respect that it's what it's going for. And then we take a turn to like, oh, no, never mind. She's just possessed. So now it's just going to be a horror movie. Now she's going to go. It's literally the Toni Collette arc in Hereditary, where she just becomes a monster and starts like Toni Collette goes all Spider-Man and gets on the ceiling and bangs her head, and this lady, she kicks the door open, but with like a Spider-Man kick, like she grabs.
I actually popped pretty hard for that. Yeah, she jumps up and like you're holding a monkey, the monkey bars, and like swings and gets the momentum and fucking, kicks the door in. See, this doesn't even have the novelty though of Ann Dowd unleashing, demons into the world.
There's no payment here.
Payment, that's it. I couldn't remember the actual name. Yeah.
And this lady, I keep saying Kirsten Dunst, but it's what was her name again? Essie Davis. Essie Davis. Mm-hmm. She's no Toni Collette. So I don't know, Alex.
Few are.
Yes, but what hurts more? Seeing Toni Collette put herself through the things that she puts herself through in Hereditary, or seeing Essie Davis, be just as cringe in the third act of this movie? I mean, what is worse, when you know the actress, the actor, when you have a connection to the performer, or when it's the first time you're seeing them? Like, what's more awkward to watch?
This is probably easier on the senses for me personally, being that I'm not really attached to the subject material. And also, for as much as I'm joking here about this movie getting praise to high heaven, which it did, I didn't hear anyone talking about how it should have got a fucking Best Picture nomination or, a Best Actress or some shit. So I think you're granted a little bit more immunity when you're fairly unknown. Whereas, Toni Collette.
It's just silly.
I am your mother.
And then Gabriel Byrne bursts into flames. There's not a single moment in this movie that's as funny as Gabriel Byrne being burned alive in Hereditary.
That's true. That is fucking hilarious. The closest thing, I guess, is the kid gets dragged away. It's actually a pretty cool effect the way they do it, because, he's dragged away by an invisible force. But then she runs up to the bedroom and this kid's just getting hurled against the wall repeatedly. And it's almost, going back to Nightmare on Elm Street. Yep. It's kind of like the first one. She's like, oh, fuck, what do I do? Of course, it's not as cool because they didn't build a giant rotating room.
I was about to ask you, so you don't think that was practical?
No. The kid got thrown there. But, studios these days don't have the patience nor the time to go that extra mile. And to be fair to the Babadook and Jennifer Kent, $2 million budget. I don't know if they were going to take the time to. If you've ever seen like the production photos of that scene from Nightmare on Elm Street, that is any Hollywood producer would look me dead in the eye and say there's no reason we need to do that anymore. It's not cost effective, and it's such a use of resources that we don't need to. And I'd be like, yes, that's why it used to be better. You just want to take all these shortcuts now.
It's about the art, not about the money.
It's about the duk in this situation. And God bless this little kid, probably on a harness, just getting whipped at the wall, Linda Blair style.
This is probably more for real talk, but I kept thinking, how do you, as a director, how do you get this performance out of this child? And maybe it belongs also in Contrarians Corner, because that was something that obviously kept taking me out of the movie. He goes so big, and not big in a way that where you would just tell the kid, like, hey, do this thing, right? Like this thing that you do all the time, just do it again. And now I'm going to shoot it and put it in context, that you're not going to know. Like you've heard the stories how Stanley Kubrick directed the kid in The Shining, right? So the kid never knew what the movie was, but Kubrick was able to capture the performance by, directing him. And then he just used the footage and put everything else around it. And it looks like the kid knows what's going on. But I don't know that you can do that here with the Babadook, because that kid is just so, almost every scene he has is so outlandish, and he's just going so big. What did Jennifer Kent tell him? Right? It's like, and here you have a seizure. How old is this child? 6, 7? I know he's supposed to be 7, but
Miss Kent, what's a seizure? She's like, oh, here's a YouTube video. Just do what this guy does.
Maybe she made it like a game, right? Like she did it first. She's like, okay, you just imitate me, and now you're gonna scream at your mom and tell her that she's not your mother and that you hate her and whatever else.
Oh my God, you just made Nola! There is no Babadook!
The problem with child actors, it's like if they're not top of the line, if they're not Haley Joel Osment, they're not Tatum O'Neal, who else do we like? Any of those that we've celebrated on the show.
We've recorded so many back to back that I'm sure I mentioned her in a recent episode, but I always Billy Madison and Brothers is one I always go with.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you don't have that, it takes you out of the movie, and so that's not the kid's fault. That's like, who would do this?
I don't know how I just name dropped her fucking 2 minutes ago, but for the purposes of what we're talking about here today, Linda Blair in The Exorcist.
Yes. Yeah. That is, Friedkin knew. He's like, all right, we're going to do it, and it's going to be scary, and it's not going to be just awkward and cringe. But if it is, like I was saying, it's not the kid's fault. It's just that the director was like, fuck it. It's going to get a reaction from people. And this kid has to live with being the kid from the Babadook forever.
Yeah, we're getting into the downward spiral of possession here, and during this is my favorite sequence in the movie, in which Amelia is just trying to stay awake. This is after she started drugging her kid just so she can get some free time, and she's not even using it well. It's not like the kid goes to sleep and she gets high and plays Call of Duty or something. She just
the vibrator doesn't come out again.
Nope. Sad. But anyway, she's watching television and begins hallucinating through what's on the TV. And it's like this 1920s music box, stop motion style, looks kind of like a Todd Browning film. And it's these visions of the Babadook in there. That's where it looks scariest to me, is the way it's portrayed in the television there, not the... When we see it in its full form, we don't even see it. We just see this wingspan, and again, I would be told it's more scary what you don't see than what you do. I mean, in a good movie.
Well, but that's the thing. You are seeing something. That's the problem, because I think that the idea of the Babadook, when he's just confined to the book, is a lot scarier than when he actually gets on the phone. You hear the voice. It's like, what the fuck? Like. Somehow, the Babadook as a concept, right? It's somewhat disturbing, but then once it becomes the kind of thing that can make contact with you and would say its name over and over, then it gets a little silly. And then it's even sillier when you just see it and it's like this dark blob that's moving around the ceiling. I was thinking about it in the opposite way. It's like, we are seeing too much. We really shouldn't have seen any of it. If the whole idea is that eventually it's... I mean, I'm sure you got it, Alex, but the Babadook is her inner turmoil. So
do what?
I know, I just blew your mind. I'm sorry. Sometimes I forget that you can be a little slow in picking up the subtext, but 5 stars.
An apparition of Oscar appears, this being her deceased husband, offering to return if she brings the boy to him. Realizing he is a creation of the Babadook, she flees, but the Babadook finally possesses her. Under its influence, she kills Bugsy and attempts to kill Sam.
Ooh.
Because she didn't see this was coming.
She didn't read the book. She wasn't paying attention. She was not like the audience.
Eventually luring her into the basement, Sam knocks her out with his contraptions. We're going to circle back to this in just a moment. Amelia wakes up and tries to strangle Sam. When he lovingly caresses her face, she regurgitates a black substance, which seemingly expels the Babadook. However, Sam reminds her that you, quote, can't get rid of the Babadook, and an unseen force drags him into the bedroom. We were just talking about that. She saves him, but is forced to see a vision of her husband's death. Furious, she confronts the Babadook, making it retreat to the basement, where she locks the door behind it. All right, so what's not mentioned in any of this is she's like selling her jaw for like the whole second half of the movie. And then for really no reason, when she gets possessed, she like fucking castaways herself. She finds this tooth and personally extracts it. And I remember just going, okay, like looking at the screen, like, you know, the idea that her body's falling apart or whatever, that's one thing. But to me, that was just a condemnation of the Australian dental system, you know?
It's just so, if only it was that, Alex, because it really is just them saying, no, just in case you missed it, she's not in her right mind, right? She didn't kill the dog.
Eating too much Vegemite, rotting them teeth away, man.
It's like if she was lucid, she would actually be in a lot of pain and she would scream when she was pulling her own tooth out. But no, you see, she's possessed. That's why she just did it, and that's why she killed the dog. So it's okay. You don't have to turn on her.
Ridiculous. But then, in a moment of like good acting, she does unleash on the kid, saying everything that she, conceivably would have wanted to say up until this point.
Is this when she's floating?
Yeah, and she's just, I want to smash your head against the wall until your fucking brains come out that thing. And like I said, this is a moment of solid acting and an interesting twist on it because, with postpartum depression or just, I can't, in a moment of sincerity here, I cannot begin to fathom the life of a single mom in a situation like this. It has to be so taxing. So this moment of her getting to just unleash, go on this diatribe of thoughts that she has, that's interesting. The movie then follows it up with a Home Alone-esque sequence of the little boy's booby traps going off in successful fashion. He has that fucking machine he built that throws like a baseball over his head that hits his mom in the head with it. And then his whole Rube Goldberg setup that he's got in the basement is what ends up knocking her out. And then he ties her up until he can get rid of the Babadook. A shocking shift in tones.
Yeah, my favorite was when he had that electrical cord around the door handle, the doorknob. And so the mom goes and grabs the doorknob and electrocutes herself. You can see her skeleton and then her hair gets all frizzy. Well, then like her head gets set on fire and she goes to dunk her head in the toilet, but she didn't realize that he filled it with kerosene and it wasn't water. And then, it blows up. The next morning when the aunt comes to check on the house and everything's destroyed, she goes, Amelia! What did you do to my room?
What is it?
You can't get rid of the Babadook.
So she pukes the Babadook out, Alex. Why couldn't Toni Collette do that with Payman? I mean, it's metal. She's like throwing up motor oil, essentially. But the real lost opportunity here was that when she does scare off the Babadook, its suit is left behind. I thought she was going to put the hat on, man. Just put it on and start this musical routine. When you smile. Money gets you one more round. It'd be life is a cabaret, old chum. Trying to cheer the kid up, right? That's right. It's been a rough few days. Man, I'm not kidding. If they took a turn into a musical number at the very end, I think that I would have forgiven every single flaw this movie has. Like, you got me.
Could have saved it. But instead, what we get is Amelia and Sam managing to recover. She's now become an attentive and caring mother, encouraging him to build his weapons and being impressed by his magic tricks.
That's all it took. Kids just wanted a little bit of attention. Single parents, pay attention.
In the closing of the film, they're in their garden. And they gather worms into a bowl. Amelia takes it to the basement. The Babadook tries to attack her, but she soothes it, and it retreats to the corner, taking the bowl of worms with it. She returns to the yard to celebrate Sam's birthday. So essentially, it's a pet now.
Yeah, they kept the Babadook as a pet. Not as a prisoner, as a pet.
Or it's almost like the Babadook was her trauma.
Forever living within.
And she was able to overcome it, but it's always going to be there. She's learned how to cope with it.
And the worms are therapy. And the fact that her child is helping her collect the worms means that the child is now part of her healing, right? She can't just do it by herself. This is like a team effort. It's her and the kid fighting against grief and depression. And what I hate the most about this is that it's only been like 2 weeks, I think, since they defeated the Babadook, right? And they're all incredibly healthy and don't seem affected at all by the fact that she killed the dog.
That, and also in all of this, he stabs her with a knife, like in the, I don't know about in the chest, but at least like near like her collarbone or something. Like there are serious injuries that occur during this sequence. And I guess her tooth is fine.
I'd been bothering her before anyway, so it's just...
And that's Chaz. How do they do the dentist visits there? They just send someone to the house, like the Three Stooges. They just hit you in the head with the hammer to sedate you, and then when you wake up, you've got the giant bandage that's wrapped, vertically around your head.
They just send the Babadook. I'm like, all right, Mr. Babadook, go take care of this.
Time to extract some teeth.
How do you feel about the Babadook cam? We get it for precious seconds here when she first chases him out into the basement.
She does go like almost full Matrix, where she's like, whoa, like bending over backwards. Yeah. But yeah, I get the POV shot. So if that's for you, you got it. Yeah,
you get Duke cam, and then you get the more Nightmare on Elm Street homages, references. All she had to do was tell the Babadook how things are. She said, I am the boss here. I'm the captain now. Go to your room. Go to the basement. And that's it. That's all it takes. A little underwhelming if you are selling us this idea that the Babadook represents the struggles, the mental health struggles that single parents have or grieving parents have or what have you. And to reduce it to this very easy solution, which is like, oh, well, all I had to do was say enough is enough. And then it got better. It got so much better that when child services shows up, they're speechless. They can't even function. I know we're praising them earlier in the movie, but now they're perfectly okay with the way that this woman is raising her son, even though things still look a little off. So that was the combination of Bugsy's sacrifice not being recognized, child support suddenly giving this lady a pass, and we never figure out like what happened with the aunt, with the cousin. Like, are they okay now? Are they gonna be, are they patching things up? What happened with Robbie? Is she still working at the hospital? Right? Because she just decided they took all her shifts away. She called in when she was possessed, and that doesn't look like the kind of place that's gonna rehire you.
She kind of told him to go pack sand on the phone too. So, I mean, there's a lot of emotional healing is important, but there's a lot of fiscal healing that's going to need to come from this. They also have to pay for a new landline.
Yes. Those are really expensive in Australia. The biggest unanswered question, Alex, is how the fuck did the kid get that dove to show up at the end? I thought he was a shitty magician. Does he have powers? Is he an actual...
Magic's real, I guess.
Warlock?
You can't believe in the Babadook and not believe in magic.
I guess so. So this is a consequence of him besting the Babadook. That's how he gained his powers.
It would seem that way. Let me rephrase that. Yeah, sure, why not? Makes enough sense.
Well, that was the Babadook.
It was.
It was Jennifer Kent taking Australian indie filmmaking by storm, I guess.
I mean, yeah, it was we talked about the critically a rousing success and made $10 million. So it was certainly a sleeper hit for its expectations. Premiered at the Sundance Film Festival, initially failing commercial success in its native country. It generated wider attention internationally. Interesting.
Well, more importantly, its biggest achievement is this quote from our friend Chas Fisher, who said, "For the record, I fucking love the Babadook."
Well, that makes me happy for Chaz.
What else could be said? So I think that with that, we should go into real talk.
Let's do it.